Welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, your home for all things relating to smart home technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to implement Syslog with Peplink. Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and we're going to be working on this together. This content is also available as an Amazon flash briefing or podcast. Please go to techbiteswithronnutter.com for more information. For any items mentioned in this episode, there are affiliate links in the description. If you click on these links, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you pay for the item. If you want to get notified when new content is uploaded, please click on the subscribe button and enable notifications. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about implementing Syslog with the Peplink B1 or B1 5G. First, what is Syslog? You may not have heard of it. Then we'll talk about what it takes to implement Syslog on Peplink. Then about setting up a remote Syslog server, because you got to have the messages go somewhere. And then we'll show you how to test Syslog to make sure that it's doing what either you would expect or what the device is capable of. This should work on the other Peplink devices. I've just got the B1 5G. First thing to get this up and running is you need to get logged in to your Peplink device. We'll go over here to System, Event Log, and all you got to do is check that box. Now, this is going to be the IP address for my Syslog server. You can have that on either the WAN or the LAN interface, depending on your particular configuration. Just make sure you don't have any firewall rules that are going to interfere with this. The implementation that Peplink uses appears to be UDP because there's no option to select TCP. That is something you can implement on some systems is to use TCP. I recommend against it because there gets to be a communication problem with the Syslog server and the Peplink can't get to it. Then things start backing up on the Peplink and then you potentially have other issues. I've run into that before, not with Peplink, but just kind of as an FYI. And then once you've got that checked and the remote Syslog host, actually while you're doing this, go down to the ping option, select the interface that you've got your Syslog server set on, and we'll just tell it to start a ping, and if everything's working right, you should see that right away. That's a good first step. So what we'll go back up here and do is event log, check the box, we've got that. By default, it uses port 514. Unless you've got some security reasons, I'd leave it alone because that's one less thing you got to worry about changing elsewhere on the network. So we'll click on save and then we will click on apply changes. That's all there is to do. So we will go on to setting up the Syslog server. Well, now we're on the Syslog server. I've saved you the pain and torture of watching another program install. You just take the defaults unless you've got an overriding urge to make a change and then go in. Now, I've already got messages going to this, but let me show you what you've got to do. Now, we're using the Kiwi Syslog server. There are other free ones out there. The Kiwi is free up to 5 devices. Past that point, you've got to license it. And that occurred, I forget when it occurred, but I remember I've used Kiwi since back before it was acquired by the current owner. So we'll click on File, Setup, and it warns you about this to its credit. I missed the initial warning message when I first started working with this one, and I was beating my head against a concrete wall. So we will go down here to Inputs, UDP. Now again, it's looking for 514. We've told it to listen for UDP. So if you go down to TCP, okay, see, it's not going to listen to that. So we got to tell it to listen on 514. Now, if you have multiple network cards, you can bind it to an address. You don't have to. And then we'll click apply there. And then if we click on the inputs box itself, we can tell it to beep anytime it receives. So if you've got yours pretty well tuned, then having it beep when a message comes through may be important. You don't have to. You can also enable IPv6 support. Again, I don't have 6 running on my network, but what you will do is it goes down here and you'll see when you first time you go in before you enter an address is it'll be 255.255.255.255. Now you've got to give it a specific address. They've just filled that in. So once you've got your IP address in there, then it's just a matter of you enter it down here, you'll click add, and let's remove that. We don't want to have that. and then we will click apply. I've got something else running on this system, so that's what got it held up just a little bit. Okay, there we go. And then we'll click OK, so we don't need the setup screen available anymore. Okay, now it's got it updated. So you'll see here that it says changes apply. Now that's coming from Syslog setup on this, and we've now gone to getting up the Syslog server. Now the last step will be actually making sure that everything is working right. Well, now we're going to do some testing to make sure we got everything working right. With other systems that I've used with Syslog, there usually is a test button here, so you can test independent of however you've got Syslog configured on the device that's sending the messages out. Peplink does not have that, and I talked to support and confirmed that. Hopefully they'll add that in a future release, because that would be, it's a nice to have. But if they don't, we've got a way around that one. What we'll want to do is go in here and make some changes that should force rules out. So we'll go down here to firewall, access rules. We'll go to the one that says permit Apple NTP. And just to make things happy, because I'll get some error messages. Oh, whatever, we'll leave that one rule in place. So what we'll have to do is click apply changes, and then we'll go over to our Syslog server, and you can see changes applied, and it gives you date and time. Now this is one of the advantages of, if you look at one of the other videos I've done on the Peplink, of having NTP synchronized, so that you've got one time source for the network and everybody's looking to that source, because it helps make going through the logs and matching things up a lot easier. You can't really configure the messages, at least with Peplink's implementation, but once you learn how to read it, then you'll be able to understand more of what's going on. So changes apply, we've already talked about that one. When you have an a wireless device that has disconnected or is having problems on the network, you should see it here. So this is the MAC address of, in fact, the laptop that I'm doing this on, and it says disconnected from, and the SSID, and there's a MAC address there. It shows you that it's on 5 gigahertz. It gives you, some basic stats to get things going. And let's see, let's go back here and we will re-enable that rule. And well, actually, before we do, we'll go back here to one thing, and we'll go down here. We should have a rule hit, and not yet, because the Apple device only checks about every 15 minutes. So we'll just go ahead and re-enable the rule. We'll click save, confirm, and it's applying changes. And then once we get that done, then we can shift over here to Syslog. Okay, so it says another change is applied. I have seen in some other work I was doing with this, if a firewall rule is hit, as far as one that's denying traffic, then you'll see that entry here. But if it's one permitting traffic, I've not seen that one go through, at least the work I've done with this so far. So at least gives you a rough idea of getting Syslog up and running. It's a handy tool to have, so when something's not working right, you have a way to do it. If you are going to put your Syslog server on the outside of, or on the WAN interface, make sure that nothing in here is going to block that traffic going to it. Normally you would put it on the LAN side. In my case, I had it on the WAN side because I've got this plugged into yet another network, so that wasn't going to be a problem. So take a look at this one and see what you think about implementing Syslog, because this is something that's it's a handy diagnostic tool, and one that you ought to at least be a little bit familiar with. YouTube outro. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see videos on the screen that are similar to the one you've just watched, or other content that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on the link button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on the subscribe button and enable notifications. See you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.